want to share with you guys just some conversations that he and I had, which I hope that this conversation somehow strikes a chord with you, and it may be some pause for reflection on how you're looking at things and maybe some of the ways you can level up in other areas of your life. But the conversation started with this. So sometime in November, maybe even earlier at the end of last year, he's texting and asking some questions about San Francisco and the Bay. And he's asking some really good questions. Hey, how come we don't have offices there? Look at all the stores that are available like San Francisco. And so we're going down this long conversation of really the Bay and what that would look like, and should he expand from Colorado into the Bay, and yada, yada, yada. Then the conversation fires up again in December on, hey, here's the current store list all across the country. If you were me, what would you do? Kind of a loaded question. Like, here's all the list from East Coast to West Coast. Here's the long laundry list of stores available and little pockets of opportunities. And I'm like, I hesitate to give you a response, give you an answer, because I think there's a lot of variables. There's obviously, you can look at the math and say, well, there's X amount of reps could fit into this particular market, but you got to look at other factors, like, do you really want to be there? And so as the conversation's evolving, then it comes down to, well, I'd like to get back to Southern California because my 12-year-old daughter lives in Southern California, Kayla. And I'm like, okay, well, that completely changes the conversation, completely changes the game. And I was pausing and reflecting. I'm like, why were we having conversations about San Francisco? And so he was sort of, the real draw was to get back home, to get to Southern California, to have more time, obviously, with his daughter at this critical, she's about to become a woman, kind of important to be here right now, right? And I'm like, well, you need to be in Southern California. So like that whole list of whatever's open, even if there was only one store open in SoCal, I'm going to SoCal. I want that one store. Forget about the 35 stores in San Francisco. I want that one store. And I said to him, I'm like, listen, the way things work in Sidcor, every market is available for the high-performing owners. You don't need a store list when you're LeBron James. When you're LeBron, you choose the team you want to play for, okay? You can even have, you can get the Boys and Girls Club to do an ESPN thing and take an hour long to unveil where you're going to play. If you're LeBron, if you're a C player, you're just happy to get drafted into the NBA and you'll play for whoever's willing to give you a contract. But listen, you take the bull by the horns, you're an A player, you decide where you want to go. And so I want to just kind of share that story because I think it really starts off with this whole priority, life, management, balance. How are you looking at things? It's really the total package of how are you going to be successful in life and what's important to you. And I think that's a great question for all of us to answer. You don't have to publicly, verbally answer it right now, but we should be asking the question, hey, what's important to us? And is it exposed in my calendar? Like, can people see, if people were to look at my life, could they see clear as day that this is important to me based on where my time is going? All right, so I want to share with you guys, I know at the end of last year, I'm like, hey, goals and, goal sheet 2024 plan. I thought based on this as priority/life management, I'm like, all right, take it or leave it. I answered the question, and I'm going to share with you the 8 areas that I say, hey, these areas I'm not willing to compromise. I want to be successful in these areas. So every year I put together my game plan of, okay, here's my goals, here's my plan for the year. But business is number 8. Okay, that's just one of the goals that I happen to have in my life. There's 7 other areas that are important to me. And again, I'm just going to share these with you guys. Not that you adopt them, but I want your hamsters running like, well, if somebody were to ask me what's important to me and what areas of my life should I be working on, can I rattle these off the same way and the same level of conviction that Jamie has? And I hope the answer could be yes if you put enough time and thought into it. Okay? So every year, number 1, I start off with spiritual goals. And I just defined it this way. So I'm going to give you each category, and I'm going to give you a little tagline that I like to give myself. And this is kind of all the goals revolve around these taglines. So I put on here, God is the center of my life. Thy will be done, not my will be done. And then I ask myself, okay, what are the spiritual goals? How do I want to grow this year spiritually? Number 2 is marriage. I say, Joanne is the most valued person in my life. I will treasure and adore her. I want her to feel like the queen in my life. And if I'm failing in marriage, I'm not living a great life. Number 3 is father. I want to win in this category. World's best dad. That's the goal. I know I'm falling a little bit short, and I've got some competitors out there, but I want to win world's best dad. Okay? That's important to me. I don't want to be an absent father. I don't want to, oh, Jamie's successful in this, he's successful in that, but his kids, I'm a big fan of Elon Musk, right? I'm reading his latest book, and it pains me to hear one of his children changed her last name. She didn't want to be associated with Musk. And that would just hurt me as a dad. I couldn't imagine how painful that would be if one of my kids wanted to remove Hep from their last name. So again, when you look at how successful this guy is, that's a blemish on the resume for sure, right? Relationships. Even for a C-type personality, relationships are important. I mean, go figure. And I define that as special moments with special people. Right? As I put my 2024 game plan together, I'm like, hey, special moments with special people. Who are these special people, and what are the special moments we can have together? I mean, there's plans around that stuff. The 5th one is personal growth. My tagline for that is personal growth is not accidental. It's purely intentional. Nobody trips and finds themselves at the top of the mountain. You have to climb. You have to be intentional to get to the top of the mountain. So personal growth. What am I doing this year to grow as a human being? How can I be Jamie 2.0? Physical. Tagline is take great care of my body and brain. Right? If this is the vessel I'm stuck with the rest of my life, I mean, gee, if I had to design myself, there's a few things I would have done different. But hey, I'm stuck with this body. Okay, so take care of it, man. You don't want this body falling apart as the race keeps going on. You want to be in great shape. Financial, number 7. My tagline is financial importance is more important than displaying high social status. Okay, financial independence is more important than displaying high social status. And then number 8 is business. Those are the 8 areas of my life that are important to me. Goals are put around that. It's almost like a stock portfolio. Some will be up, some will be down. But overall, I want that index, I want that S&P index to have a nice winning year here. So that's how I'm really defining success in my personal life. And again, I'm challenging you. How do you define success? I mean, does it irk you with that Elon Musk story that I shared? Or kind of like, that stuff's just not as important to me. I mean, again, there's no right or wrong answer, but you need to have an answer. So I want to share something with you guys. I'm going to share with you a blurb from a book that I'm going to be publishing this year. Okay, so it took me 14 years to write a book. And don't applaud till you got to read it first. you might burn it and say this thing should not exist. Just please remove this from Amazon. But I want to share something with you guys. The title of the book is going to be up for debate. There's a publishing company that's like, you got to change that. It was called Can I? Constant Never-Ending Improvement. And he's like, it's just confusing. So it's going to be called something else probably. But there's a chapter in here that I think really hits this point home, and I want to share this with you. The chapter, it's a piece from a chapter called Bananas, Dry Cleaning, and Mom. Okay, that's the chapter. So I often ask people to show me their system for keeping track of their priorities. There are a couple reasons for this. A, they might have a better way of doing it than me, so maybe there's something I can learn. And then B, they might need an improved system that I can equip them with some of my tools and latest systems. So one day, one of my coworkers asked me for some help and wanted advice and coaching. He was struggling with work, and he was stressed out at home as well too. He felt like he was losing on both fronts. In the spirit of Maxwell's seminar, I asked him if we could look at his calendar together to see what he was really doing with his time. He was having a difficult time connecting the dots with how his calendar had anything to do with his problems at home and his inefficiency at work. I told him the calendar would tell us what's most important to him, and it might help him to reflect on his priorities and juggle some things around. He opened up his calendar app on his phone so we could see if there were any indicators or clues that we could explore. Over the course of the last 168 hours, 24 times 7, he had 3 things plugged into his calendar: bananas on Tuesday, dry cleaning on Saturday, and call mom on Sunday. I asked him if he had accomplished all of the things that he prioritized in his calendar. He didn't really understand the question. I then asked him specifically, did you buy bananas? Did you pick up your dry cleaning? And did you call your mom? He nodded yes. I said, then I guess you're on the right track. I'm such a jerk, right? As you read the book, like, you're such a jerk. I'm glad I wasn't in your office. You're setting your sights on things and you're executing on those things. You have the habit of following through on the things that you set out to do. That's great. Okay, he said. If you want to accomplish more with your life, why don't you think of the things in your life that are important and plant them in your calendar too? I'm not sure how long it took you to get the bananas, dry cleaning, and call your mom, but I would think that probably you have another 166 hours or more per week to get other stuff done. Well, those other things I don't write down. I know what they are and I do them. I said, you may or may not be right. I don't know. All I know is those other things are probably much more important than bananas. If bananas can find its way onto your calendar, just try putting other things in your calendar and let's see what happens. I'm happy to report that he took the advice to heart, got in the habit of scheduling his priorities, and he turned the ship around at home and at work. Okay, so think about that, right? If I were to do this exercise with you and we opened up your calendar app, not sure what I would see, but chances are I'd probably see a lot of white space. And I'd ask, like, okay, so these things that are on the calendar, you doing them? Yeah, I'm doing them. Well, then you're kicking butt, man. I mean, I'd say the same thing. Listen, you're kicking butt, but are there other things that are important that you probably should schedule? Like, there is something powerful when you are scheduling your priorities. Like, for the longest time, I was the guy that I'd always procrastinate on the whole working out thing. See if any of you can identify with this. Where, okay, listen, tomorrow's the day. I'm working out. It's January. It's the start of a new year, and I'm going to work out tomorrow. Set the alarm nice and early. Wake up in the morning. I know it's 40 degrees outside, and I do not want to go for a run. So I make the game day decision at that time. Okay, game day. You know what? Today's not the day. It is too chilly. I stayed up too late. I am tired. I need a little bit more beauty rest. Maybe tomorrow. And then this would happen time and time again. Once I started scheduling, once I started looking at gym time or workout time as an appointment in the calendar for whatever reason, and maybe it's, Jamie, you're just a C type and that works for you, doesn't work for me. But when it was an appointment and the alarm would go off, I'm like, hey, it's in the calendar. Well, it doesn't say. Sometimes I have to look at the detail of the calendar. Does it say, well, depends on how you feel? No, it's like, just get your butt out of bed and start jogging, Jamie. That's literally how I started. I didn't get a gym membership. Just get out of the house and just run around the block a couple times. But it doesn't say how you feel, so just get up and do it. It's an appointment. Like, if you had a one-on-one scheduled with one of the new guys in your office, would you just flake on that appointment? Well, no. Well, then don't flake on that appointment. So I started putting appointments in my calendar, the things that were most important, and those appointments started happening. The habits started happening, and now I'm becoming a more rounded person that can, hey, I'm achieving success in the marriage. Oh, thank God, because I want to get this one right. Oh, I'm achieving success as a dad. Thank God, I want to get that one right. Oh, business, check. I mean, so your calendar should reflect all the things that are important to you. And if it doesn't, you might need to sit down and get revamped on your schedule, your prioritization system. Because you may say, Jamie, I got all the right priorities. Nobody needs to come into my life to tell me what's most important. But if it's not reflected in the schedule, then I'd say, well, let's just get that system. Because you might be a little too overconfident. You might think that what you think are your priorities, and your actions are aligned. It's so interesting. We judge other people by their actions, and we judge ourselves by our intentions. We're all guilty of this. Oh, it's my good intention, so therefore you give yourself you're off the hook. But you judge other people by their actions, not their intentions. Well, let's judge you on your actions. So what does it say in your calendar? And are you achieving these appointments? Are the most important things happening in your life? I mean, again, priority life management. That's really...